Travel taught me a cruel contrast. You book a place for anonymity, and someone learns your name the moment you close the door. Hotels promise uniform safety. Airbnbs promise lived-in comfort. Stalkers love both promises for the gaps between them. These 4 stories aren't about ghosts. They're about people who study lobbies, hallways, keypads, and habits until your private space turns public. I wish I had a monster to blame. Monsters don't send polite messages at midnight, or whisper through a vent, or smile in a lobby and remember your floor. People do. And they knock like they belong. Here. I booked a shotgun apartment in New Orleans while my team worked a weekend conference. Self-check-in, keypad on the iron gate, another on the inner door. The listing was glossy but honest about noise. I liked the layout. Long hall, tiny living room, bedroom at the back with a window to a brick well. Lena, the host, messaged a cheerful check-in note and a tip for beignet that wasn't in the guidebook. At 11:38 the first night, the gate keypad chirped twice. I assumed a neighbor. At midnight, light footfalls crossed the hall outside my bedroom and stopped there. I texted Lena. Anyone else checking in late? She replied right away. Just you this weekend. The inner keypad chirped, short and wrong, like someone guessing. I stood in socks by the door and watched the little red light pulse. Through the peephole I saw no one, only the hallway's exposed brick. Then a phone vibrated on the other side, too close, and a man exhaled as if disappointed with the math. I said, "Through the wood, I'm calling the police." The footfalls retreated. 2 minutes later, Lena sent a screen from her smart lock. 5 failed code attempts. Recorded. Second night, I slid the chain and wedged a chair under the knob, not because it would stop anyone, but because it would make a sound. At 2:07 a.m. different chirp, 2 highs, 1 low, preceded a metallic cough. The deadbolt thumb turned a breath, hit the chain, and stuttered back. Someone wasn't guessing anymore. I filmed the crack between door and frame. A gloved fingertip slipped into the gap, tipped with a tiny light, pausing at the chain as if a camera were studying it. I yelled Lena's name like she might be with them. The light withdrew. Silence grew teeth. Police came fast because a unit was already rolling nearby. My video showed the fingertip and the chain bucking. The gate camera caught a blurry man with a tattoo like a comma by his ear. Lena arrived shaking but composed. She told the officers her ex handled co-hosting last year and once had admin access to the lock software. She'd removed him when they split. The log still showed his phone pinging, failing, then triggering some old override before the chain saved me. She changed the codes in front of us, stayed while I packed, and comped the final night. I told myself hotels would feel simpler. Same hardware, trained staff, cameras everywhere. I checked into a mid-tier tower by the airport for a 12-hour layover, floor 16, the kind of hallway that hums like a refrigerator. The desk clerk slid my key in a paper sleeve with the room number printed small. In the elevator, a man with a rolling carry-on glanced at it, smiled, and asked if I knew a good place to grab soup. He had conference swag around his neck and an easy voice. I suggested the lobby bar. He said thanks and rode to 15. At 12:41 a.m. call lit my room phone. A calm woman said she was at the front desk and my card hadn't processed the incidentals hold. Could she verify the numbers now so I wouldn't be locked out later? I said I'd come down in person. She softened, totally fine, but the night line might get busy. I hung up and dialed the front desk myself. A man answered, confused. No one had called me. While we spoke, a firm knock at my door. Security, quick verification. The peephole showed only a shoulder and a patch I couldn't read clearly. I told the real desk agent someone was outside my room, claiming to be security. He put me on hold and looped in the duty manager. We kept the line open while I said through the door that I'd meet them downstairs. The voice insisted a minute would do. No footsteps left. The peephole dimmed as if someone leaned close enough to block ambient light. The manager asked me to confirm my room number, then told me not to say it aloud. He was sending security up. I slid the deadbolt, latched the swing bar, and sat on the carpet. The knock came again, faster, and the handle tested the latch with little breathy clicks. The duty manager asked whether I'd spoken to anyone in the lobby earlier. I remembered the man from the elevator and described him. The manager muttered something to the agent, then told me to keep everyone on speaker. A radio crackled through the phone. Security approaching 16. Outside my door, the peephole brightened, shadow sliding away. Footsteps retreated, then another set hurried toward them. Voices collided. A minute later, security walked me to the elevator. They'd stopped a guest by the stairwell matching my description. He'd signed for a room on 15, paid cash, and wore a badge from my airline's conference despite not being registered. In his pocket, they found a folded key holder sleeve like the one mine came in, with my room number written faintly in pencil. Security reviewed camera footage. After we'd shared an elevator, he drifted near the desk, then lingered by the tower entrance using his phone. Minutes later, the fake front desk call hit my line. The manager comped my stay and changed my room. I slept wearing shoes. Planes are loud. The quiet in hallways is worse. I picked an Airbnb on the Mendocino coast to write for a weekend, sold on the idea that distance equals safety. The listing was a cedar studio with a keypad deadbolt, a deck facing pines, and a note from the host, Aaron, that cell service was spotty but Wi-Fi was strong. Self-check-in, no shared walls, no neighbors in view. The welcome binder had a handwritten chalkboard. Welcome, Daniel. With a tiny heart Aaron swore her daughter always drew. Sweet. Personal. Also the first time my name was on the outside of a door since college. The afternoon was wind and gulls, the kind of noise that makes you feel private. I went for groceries in town and stopped at a bar with a chalkboard menu. The bartender asked for a number for the loyalty text list, locals happy hour, and I said no, then paid with a card. A man 2 seats down commented on my laptop sticker, said he'd done a residency near the same press. We traded 3 sentences. He asked where I was staying. I joked I'd booked the one with the best deck. Not a lie. Not smart either. At 12:18 a.m., after a rain passed, a soft knock came from the deck door. 3 light taps, a pause, 1 more. The studio had 2 doors, the front and the slider to the deck. Aaron's binder said, please use the front at night because of swollen frames. I froze anyway. I stood where the kitchen met the bed and stared at the dark. The second knock came softer and lower like a test. I texted Aaron. Anyone expected on the property tonight? She didn't answer. The Wi-Fi hiccuped, then returned. The deck motion light bloomed. Through the curtain gap, I saw a shape too close to the glass for comfort. I didn't speak. I took my phone, hit record, and slid it a thumb width aside to capture the reflection of the deck table. In that ghosted mirror, I saw an arm move, the edge of a hood, and a gloved hand lift. Then the brief, surgical glimmer of a keypad hook probing the latch seam. The slider refused him. Swelling can be a lock too. The hand disappeared. Footsteps creaked across wet wood toward the corner where the bedroom window vented. I said I was calling the sheriff. The motion light clicked off. When I pulled the curtain, the deck was empty. I waited, counted to 200, then crept to the entryway. The front door latch had a tiny wedge of folded plastic jammed into it, a trick to keep a latch tongue from catching if the door opened a hair. I leaned close to grab it with tweezers and smelled bar soap and old rain. Aaron called at 12:40, breathless, said sorry, kid fell asleep on her, what happened? I described the knock, the plastic wedge, the hand with a tool. She said she'd drive over with her neighbor, and I said no, call 911 from where you are. Stay on the phone with me. 30 minutes later, a deputy rolled up the dirt drive. His flashlight found tracks funneling to the deck stairs. The tread pattern was heavy with a chip in one heel. I showed him the phone clip, the wedge in an evidence bag, and the chalkboard with my first name. He asked if I'd talked to anyone about the rental in town. My scalp prickled. I described the bar and the man with questions. The deputy's mouth went thin. He said the code on the deadbolt, 0416, was a pattern some hosts use. The last 4 digits of the guest's phone number, easy to rotate, easy to remember. My phone ended in 0416. I hadn't given it to Aaron yet, but it was printed on the check at the bar. People collect little pieces, he said. A name on a door, A code built from a habit. Erin changed the lock codes from her app in front of us. The neighbor replaced the slider latch the next day. The bar owner called me later to say the guy who'd asked about my sticker hadn't come back. The deputy called them first. Hotels had staff and logs. Airbnbs had hosts who would fight for you if you asked. I wanted the third place. A service department with no lobby fanfare and a keycard. Work booked me into one downtown for a month. The building had a camouflaged concierge number that texted you when packages arrived. Felt sensible. On day 6, I got a WhatsApp ping. Same logo as the building. Friendly reminder of tonight's wine hour on 6:30 to 7:30. Come meet neighbors. I wasn't in a neighbor mood, but the ping was proof the system recognized me. At 6:41, I took the elevator to 7, stepped into a corridor with a folding sign, 2 empty tables, and no one pouring anything. I stood there alone long enough to feel silly and went back up. My door was on the latch when I returned. Swing bar engaged but not set how I'd left it. A faint scuff marred the wood near the strike. I backed to the stairwell, heart doing math. I dialed the concierge number that had texted me earlier that week. A different person answered on the building app, confused, said there was no wine hour, and could I wait by the elevator? Security was coming. He asked me not to text back the WhatsApp number. It wasn't them. We don't use that platform, he said. Please don't engage. Security arrived with a manager carrying a tablet. They unlocked my door for me and asked me to stand behind them. Inside, nothing screamed wrong. No drawers open, no suitcase moved, until the manager checked the room's key audit and frowned. A master had pinged my lock at 6:39 and failed. My own card succeeded at 6:43. He radioed downstairs, and then his phone buzzed. The doorman had camera on a man leaving at 6:40 by the service exit with a backpack and a maintenance polo. The patch was slightly off. The logo thread count matters when you stare at it on screen. They walked me to the desk where the head of security scrubbed back through footage. The polo man posted in the mail alcove at 5:50, glancing up each time a resident passed, phone in hand, thumb moving like he was copying numbers or names. At 6:20, he shouldered a box and followed a courier into the elevator. At 6:35, he tried my floor, looked both ways, then drifted to my door and bent to the reader as if listening. The WhatsApp profile picture that invited me to Wine Hour had the building's logo, but the About line said hosted by Len. No building puts a human first name in its concierge ID. They rekeyed my lock, replaced my card, and set a watch on 7. That night, I shoved a chair under the bar out of habit, then lay awake imagining how many small systems he'd used. A copied logo, an open RSVP-like invitation to leave a floor empty, a master key attempt on a bar meant to swing. I learned later the maintenance company 2 doors down had a contract lapsed 3 months. Their old polos were still in the trash. He'd fished a costume and built a text tree from a leaked directory. People study gaps. People push the quiet parts of a system until it opens like a mouth.